celebrating 15 years of possibility. Pilot Flying J and Halloran Hilton Hill present Anything is Possible. Today's guest, Andy Wood, Part 2.
Welcome to Anything is Possible. I'm Halloran Hilton Hill. This is Part 2 of my interview with Andy Wood. Thank you for being here today.
Man, it's a delight.
I decided to stretch it out because I'm just having so much fun talking to you and being with you. We started last time by talking about Grampsie and the influence that he had on you. Your grandfather wanted somebody to play with, nothing like playing with his grandsons, and that family bond turned into the seeds of love. My read on it is that music makes community, right? And it's just that thing. Let's talk a little bit, though, about the power of bluegrass music itself. How do you feel when you're playing bluegrass?
Knowing where I am now musically, it lies somewhere between speed metal and jazz on acoustic instruments. And I say that because tunes that are really burning, Foggy Mountain Breakdown, Rocky Top, things like that, that technically has so much in common with a really fast metal shred kind of song. And then if you have a whole band, like let's say, I'm gonna change my amp sound, give us a little example of what I'm kind of talking about here. So if you had a tune like Rocky Top or Foggy Mountain Breakdown where you're the band would play that, and everybody play that melody, and then everybody would take turns soloing over those chord changes. Not different at all from jazz, where somebody would play the melody. And then everybody would solo over. So it sits in the middle, and for me, the emotion that it's just like, it's like kind of wild, but there's also something very cheeky about it.
Right.
There's that constant sense of humor that seems to be an underlying tone in up-tempo bluegrass. Now the slow stuff, man, I've made a joke about it. I mean, there seems like in those slow songs, somebody's always got to get killed.
Right.
It's like in the song Wild Bill Jones, 3 people die in the same song. So there's a lot of that, like how blue can you get? And Bill Monroe took the blues and he mixed it with old time music, and he made bluegrass. Like, he invented a genre, and that's really important to our culture because in no other genre of music has one guy said, okay, this is a genre of music. Jazz took a group of people. Rock took a group of people, culmination. Country music took a group of people. Old time music, hymns in church, gospel, everything is a group of people. Bill Monroe, his first 3 records, they're the standards, right? So you think of jazz standards, it's like, oh, this standard is Duke Ellington, this standard is so-and-so. It's like, right. Bill was like, okay, these first 3 records, that's the standards for bluegrass.
Like, he wrote the Old and the New Testament.
I mean, he really did. And then his offshoot, like the offshoot of that were guys like Earl Scruggs and, Ernest Tubb and all these guys played for Bill before they went solo. Earl played for Bill. Guys like Kenny Baker wrote a plethora of the standards of fiddle tunes. So I think it's important in bluegrass to always put it back on Bill and be like, that's the guy. So he took the really sad, lonely, broken-hearted stuff, and then also, the cheekier tunes that, like a literal tune is Pig in a Pen. That's a real
Right.
bluegrass song. And that's just humor, just
Do
good
you
old humor.
think part of it, though, was during the time at which that music came of age, this was also their vehicle for processing the deep emotions of the struggle?
The Great Depression.
Right.
I mean, it's right out of the Great Depression.
So you needed a way to give voice to the pain, but you also needed a remedy.
For sure, and it's
something to give you some hope and some humor so you could laugh your way through the bad days or play your way through the bad days.
For sure.
Yeah.
And you can hear it in tunes like this is an old melody. just heard that, you don't know if that's peaceful, if that's
Right.
sad, if that's happy. And the reason is it's all of it.
It's all of that.
It's all of it. And it's like you said, chronologically where we were in time, coming out of a Great Depression and World War and just society being ripped apart, it's like, that's where that comes from. It's like you hear a melody that was written in the 20s, 30s, and
it was
it's
the score.
all of them.
Yeah,
it's all the emotions.
Yeah. We'll take a break. When we come back with Andy Wood, I want to talk about what you've learned about being a great musician on the road. How do you do the road without having the road do you? This is Anything is Possible.
Possibility powered by Pilot Flying J, Covenant Health, Home Federal, and the Knoxville News Sentinel. Coming up.
Obviously, it's taken for granted that you have to know your craft and be able to go in and deliver for the artist.
Welcome to Anything is Possible. I shouldn't be able to get away with this. This is what I get to do, hang out with Andy Wood and talk about music and listen to great music. Thank you for being here today.
That's a pleasure.
What a blessing. He's one of the best guitarists in America. And if you haven't had a chance to hear him or hear his recordings, where can people get your music and what's your latest project?
Yeah, andywoodmusic.com is kind of the hub for everything. Of course, I have all the social media, Twitter and Instagram. As far as latest project, we just shot the show here in Knoxville, the Bijou Show. So that's going to be a live album and a live video. We're going to have that, digital media and some physical copies. It's going to be looking to launch around somewhere in the late summer. After that, I have a very cool project that's kind of a throwback blues project with a good friend of mine named Dave Kennedy, and we're loosely calling it Kennedy Wood Sessions. So that'll be coming hopefully in the fall. We're actually in the process of mixing it down. We got everything recorded and stuff. So a couple of good projects coming out this year.
It'll be good. It will feature our new song, Mr. Big Thumb.
Yeah.
Just kidding. So you're on the road a lot. How many days a year are you on the road?
It varies. When I was with Rascal Flatts, we did about 100. I'm with Low Cash currently, and it's a country duo, and man, they are so busy. We've done 83 shows since the beginning of January.
Dang.
Yeah, so we'll probably hit 200 this year with Low Cash.
How do you do the road without the road doing you?
Yeah, that's a really nice way to word that, and I'm going to steal that. The trick to the road life is having something that you can use to kind of separate yourself from the office, the workplace. I think it's always trouble if you spend 100% of your time either on the bus or with your fellow band. You got to do something to get away. Some guys in the band, they go play tennis, or some guys in the band, they go work out. I take my Xbox with me. I get in a hotel room, bust out some Xbox for a little bit, and that kind of saves me. Or I'll be, sitting in a room with my guitar, or sometimes I'll take a fiddle, just anything to kind of put me in, put the brake on the work life. Even though I'm playing music for a hobby, I'm playing it for work, and it's just like, it's important to have that segregation. On the other side, doing those types of activities keeps you out of, just rambunctiousness.
Yeah, trouble.
It's really easy when everybody's handing you the keys to the kingdom in Las Vegas. Whatever you want, just go for it. It's hard to say no, and that's the challenge.
Let me ask you this. What are the rules of being a great professional musician? Like if you had to say, if you want to be great and you want to do this professionally, these are the rules.
Anything that you would learn in a basic business ethics class, apply that first off, straight out of the gate. Don't undercut or undersell one person that you told them one thing. Like, let's say, this has happened in my life where I've had an artist say, hey man, I need you to do these dates, I'll pay you double. I was like, I can't, I'm booked. Like, well, I'll pay you double, don't worry about it. I was like, man, I'm telling you, I wouldn't do this to you, I wouldn't do it to anybody else. That business ethic thing, that's really important to maintaining a career, because as soon as it gets around that you've undercut or you will undercut, and that goes for, undercutting another musician. Like, let's say a guitar player's making X and I'll say, I'll do it for cheaper. Don't do that. On the flip side, obviously it's taken for granted that you have to know your craft and be able to go in and deliver for the artist. And just go in with the attitude of making their vision come to an existence. That can be a producer, that can be an artist, anything like that. Your job is to help them achieve their thing. And if you're wanting, if you're asked, if they're like, hey, play me something hot, play something hot. If they're like, hey man, play something mellow. Don't play something hot. You know, it's like, it's not the time and the place to show what you got as far as everything you can do.
How important is a great attitude?
I mean, that's it, right? It's like what we're talking about is keeping ego in check. You know, that's all tied together. The good attitude. That doesn't also mean brown nosing. Like, nobody likes that in a good business environment. It's just have a positive, hard work. Work ethic is everything, you know, and those types of just core golden rule, the stuff you learn in second grade, it's the stuff that you learn when you're a child, and you apply that to your music, to what started as a hobby and now it's professional. I think that's where it blurs.
Right.
People go, oh, it's a hobby, I can do what I want, I can be, you know, alcoholic. And it's like, no, you really can't. Stop thinking that way. This is still a job. You know, not to say you couldn't have fun on it, but I think it's that golden rule thing that's the most important.
It's most important.
Yeah.
Would you play something for us?
Yeah, for sure. Let's do something a little country since we've kind of been talking about that.
All right.
This is a tune that's written kind of cheeky, sense of humor kind of thing. I wrote this for a good friend of mine who's the steel player that's featured on it. His name's Travis Toy. If you remember the characters that Will Ferrell and John C. Reilly had, Ricky and Cal.
Yeah.
This was what I figured it would sound like to hang out with them. So I thought it was important to have my buddy that plays steel be the Cal to my Ricky.
Okay.
So here we go.
You're a great composer.
Oh, thanks, man.
Any of you movie folks that are watching, we don't want to take any work from Danny Elfman because we already talked about undercutting. There's your guy right there. That is fabulous. And we were talking about this off the air about how sometimes people don't credit joy as an authentic emotion.
Absolutely.
And you love the humor of it. You
Oh,
love.
man. There's so many things on in my music that's little tips of the hat to that kind of cheekiness and almost the way Frank Zappa he did a great job of capturing humor. I've got a song that's dedicated to 70s kung fu movies, and it's just every, you know, cliche thing that you could think that would be the sound to those old Bruce Lee, you know, Jean-Claude Van Damme, all that kind of stuff. So I mean, I love that humor. I love that probably more than I love the sadness.
Yeah, yeah.
The sadness is something that happens sometimes just because, man, I feel terrible. I got to put this into some kind of outlet and get it out of me.
But the
humor,
nature
I'd
of
much
your
rather
life
do.
is
Yeah.
joy.
Yeah, I'd rather do the joke stuff. Like that's just fun for
That's
me.
fun.
That's just fun.
Is Grampsie still alive?
He is.
Did
He's
he come to the
88 years
Bijou
old.
show?
He was there.
All right, we're going to take a break, and when we come back, I want to wrap the show by you telling me what he thought about that night.
Okay.
All right?
All right, sounds good.
You're watching Anything Is Possible. This is the next big Hollywood composer, Andy Wood. Right now, he's spending a little time doing this other stuff, but we got you hooked up. See you in a minute.
Coming up,
I've made it a point to tell him years ago, but thank you is the only thing. That's just two words that's everything. There's no way that I would be who I am, without him.
Welcome back to Anything Is Possible, and I hope that you can hear the joy in the music. This is Andy Wood. I feel your energy, and it is an authentic joy. And by no means do I think that your life is perfect, but I do think you have stepped into what you were called to be. And thank you for being uniquely who you are.
Oh man, I appreciate those kind words.
And
for sure.
I want to thank your whole family, your mom, your dad, all the people that surround you, the people that support you. But I especially want to thank Grampsie, because I don't know if we'd be sitting here if he hadn't, given you some money to go down and play Street Fighter.
That's it, man. That's what it was.
So you did this big show at the Bijou.
That's it.
That was a culmination. That was a big night.
Yeah, we worked on that. I kind of had the battle plans laid out about 3 months ahead of time. When we picked the date, I made sure to look at everybody's schedule of all the musicians that I wanted to have there and their touring schedules, because they all work with artists too. Because it was really important to have Travis Toy, who that song, no way I can play Ricky and Cal without Cal there. There's no way. So having him there was important. Having my cousin there was important. The bass player is a guy named Todd Parks, plays with the mandolinist Sam Bush and the dobro player Jerry Douglas. And having Andy Campbell on drums and Ben Eller on guitar, that was clutch for me. And then once I locked those guys in and we had a date, I called out a couple of guest vocalists because I wanted to do a little R&B set. So I called my friend Kendra, and then I wanted to do a bluegrass set where we all dump the electric instruments. We walk up to the front of the stage around a microphone, old time style. So I called my friend Jordan Burris to come in and sing some bluegrass. And we actually did a bluegrass cover, like a bluegrass interpretation of Fleetwood Mac's The Chain. And it was really cool. So I'm excited for that to come out and get that live album out so everybody who wasn't there can experience it.
So at 88, Grampsie is in the audience.
88, he's there. Grampsie still plays.
And what did he think?
Luckily, he was so into the lights, like in the rafters, that I couldn't see him because it would have been waterworks if I could. One moment in the show, my cousin and I walk up to the front of the stage and we did a medley of a bunch of fiddle tunes that he taught us to play. And when I was introducing the song, I was just like, this one goes out to Grampsie. As I said, it's just as fast as I could say it, just to get it out of get it out of my mouth, because if I'd have waited another 10 seconds, I wouldn't have been able to say it. And he loved it. He had a great time, and it's always fun. It's the most fun for me to hear him comment about my electric music, because that's so alien to him.
What did he say about your electric music?
Man, people are wild. They like all that fast electric, playing all that rock and roll and stuff, don't they? I said, yeah. Yeah, they do.
What do you want to say to him?
I've already said it. I've made it a point to tell him years ago, but thank you is the only thing. That's just two words that's everything. There's no way that I would be who I am, without him.
Yeah. Now, what would you say to the young guy or the young girl that's watching this interview, right? They got on YouTube and they see you sitting here right now. And you wanted to give them some fuel.
Oh, man. Just enjoy it. It's really hard when the hard days come around to enjoy it, but you got to keep it in your mind that it's this is something that they don't call it working the guitar. They call it playing the guitar. So when you're having that bad day, you didn't get the gig. It starts on the very first level. You can't play the Eddie Van Halen solo. Once you get that, you can't get somebody to hire you to play a club. Once you get that, you can't get that label deal. Well, it's always that staircase. And those are those hard days where you have to remember. And I tell myself this all the time. It's man, it's got to be fun. You got to remember it's got to be a good time. It's got to be something you enjoy, because the minute you don't and you get that, you call it a callus. Once you get that callus on you, on your perspective of the industry and the perspective of music in general, it's hard to break that with creativity. So I think keeping that enjoyment at the front is the most important thing I can give advice to anybody of any level of music.
Well, we do like it when the check's clear.
Yeah, for sure. It is that. It is that too. I remember those moments across different shows, making albums. I remember me, tracking my friend Lester on my record, and we were in the studio laughing because it sounds so good. And I was just like, man, I can't wait to get it. I can't wait to just get home to play this for, my business partner, or play it for my family or whatever. It's like, this sounds so good, And that's that thing. It's like, man, if it sells, great. That's gravy after that. But like, it's that thing of, we've made something from nothing, and that's what you have to keep at the forefront of your practice. You have to keep the forefront of your work ethic, when you are working for an artist, or when you go on, maybe you're the artist yourself. That's the advice, the end all advice is just seek that joy, and that becomes the drug. Nothing else in the world is as good as that feeling, and then you want to create again to try to re-get that feeling again.
It's a beautiful thing. So 3 things for you as you leave. Grampsie knew that Andy could. He trained him so that Andy would, and today we got to see that Andy good.
That's nice.
Thank you for being here
Thank
today.
you, Hal. Thank you, man.
Andy Wood on Anything is Possible.